How to use a HELOC to acquire cash flowing rental properties. Now, for those that may not know, my name is Daniel Kwak, one half of the Kwak Brothers, and I'm an 8-figure real estate investor, but I also happen to own and be the CEO of a company known as Accelerated Strategies, where we've already helped thousands of people all across the country pay off their mortgage faster, saving them a fortune on interest while not having to change their lifestyle at all or even make an extra payment. So I've helped thousands of people in that process acquire HELOCs. Now, if you guys want to check out how that's done and how a HELOC is even part of that, feel free to check out the video in the description titled How to Pay Off Your Mortgage in 5 to 7 Years. My brother Sam did a wonderful job at explaining our strategy and how we help people do exactly that. Now, in this video, I'm going to share with you guys 2 things. Number 1, the pros and cons of using a HELOC for real estate investing in general, a lot of the do's and don'ts. And secondly, I'm going to share with you guys the ideal strategies and scenario for you to even use one, period. Now, please watch until the end because I'll talk about what everyone absolutely should not do with their HELOC. And I've actually seen people lose tens of thousands of dollars because of this thing I will tell you not to do towards the end of the video. Okay, so without further ado, let's go ahead and start with the pros. Now, the first pro is that this is the same as borrowing money from a lender, but this time you're the lender. So for example, let's say you're wanting to flip a house in your neighborhood and you need $100,000 to complete the rehab. If you go to a hard money lender or anyone offering short-term loans, they'll probably charge you 8 to 12% interest on the money, which is the same as what you would pay as the interest rate on a HELOC or any line of credit for that matter. The big difference, however, is that when using a lender, you're most likely paying points and fees up front. In fact, most lenders charge 2 points up front, meaning if you borrowed $100,000 needed to do the deal, and considering 1 point is equivalent to 1%, you're paying $2,000. Not to mention, you're most likely also paying additional fees up front as well, which can range anywhere from an additional 2 to 5% of whatever you're borrowing. So meaning that if you were borrowing $100,000 total, you're paying the 2 points up front, which is $2,000, and you're paying anywhere from 2 to 5% additional on top of that as well. Now, granted, if you're using your own HELOC, yes, you'll have to pay fees to get the HELOC initially, which I will have experience in telling you, those are usually between 1.5 to 2.5, 3%. But the beautiful part is once you get the HELOC, you don't have to pay any more fees to borrow more money like you would if you're using an outside institutional lender. Now, the second pro is that you obviously have control over your own HELOC. One of the downsides of having other people invest into your deals is that you're now having to give away parts of the deal to other people. In fact, let's say you find a great rental property you'd like to invest in, and similar to our previous example, you recruit an outside investor and they invest $100,000 into your deal. Well, in most situations where you raise capital from an investor to acquire a rental property, you're probably giving away anywhere from 50 to 70% of that deal. Not to mention that further down the line, the investor may end up disagreeing with you strongly on your investment strategy, and now all of a sudden you got a massive challenge on your hands. And I can tell you from personal experience in raising capital as well, it is a lot of work to also keep your investors happy, updated, and up to date on what's going on, and also having them agree with you. Now, for cons, there's one major one that comes to mind, which is that most HELOCs, especially right now in today's market, are adjustable rate, which means that if you're using a HELOC to do something like a fix and flip or a buy and hold, and it's a longer term strategy, as in you're holding that property for over a year or even maybe over 18 months, the likelihood of your cost of money, which is the line of credit interest rate, increasing is very likely, and it can happen. Not to mention that if you're working with a bank and you've got your HELOC from maybe a small community bank that doesn't have as much resources, liquidity, and solvency as one of the big boys, well, there's also a chance that that HELOC might get frozen as well. So that is one con that you have to be aware of. However, there's obviously ways we could work around that. As a matter of fact, as an 8-figure real estate investor, there are 2 strategies and scenarios that, in my opinion, are the most ideal to use a home equity line of credit in. And those two are, number one, short-term fix and flips, and number two, value-add cash-out refi multifamily real estate. Now, obviously, I'm going to explain what those things are, but let me first start with fix and flip. So let's say we've got this house right here, okay? Lovely home, colonial roof, right? Like all kindergartens draw their houses, right? So let's say that we buy this thing for $100,000, and obviously it's greatly distressed, and let's say it requires $75,000 worth of rehab and fixing, okay? Now, let's say that we're using a HELOC for this example. Now, what's really great about using a HELOC, especially on a flip, is that it's great, especially if the balance is paid off soon. And when I say soon, I mean, let's just say less than 12 to 18 months, okay? So we buy this home for $100,000, it's greatly distressed, we need $75,000 to rehab it, and let's say that we were able to obtain a $100,000 home equity line of credit, which, by the way, if you guys currently own a home and your equity is far greater than a $100,000 HELOC, well, based on your loan to value, you'll probably be able to get a home equity line of credit to actually do this example in right now, right? Which, if you want to do so and learn more about that, obviously we have plenty of other videos on our YouTube channel that you'll be able to observe and watch, right? So we have $75,000 in rehab. Now, what's great is that we can then use the $100,000 to fund the rehab. Now, it's beautiful because we don't have to give any of this deal. 100% of this deal is yours. Congratulations, okay? Now, what's beautiful about that is that if we were to sell the property, and let's say the market value of this property is $300,000, well, with the $100,000, $75,000 in rehab, and let's just say an additional $25,000 in closing costs / miscellaneous, well, that means we've profited $100,000 without, again, having to take any outside money. Now, here's the really cool part about using a HELOC in a fix and flip is that if the rehab goes a little longer, if we have 2 to 3 months that the rehab gets extended because maybe the contractor doesn't show up, people don't do what they say they're gonna do, which happens all the time. But also we find some other things that are an issue. Well, guess what? We have $25,000 more in our HELOC that we'd be able to access to take care of any, oopsies or any mistakes that happen. Whereas if we borrowed that $75,000 from an outside lender or even a friend of yours, well, we would have to go back to that person and ask for more money, and there's probably gonna be penalties and fees attached to that as well. Whereas if you used your own HELOC to do so, you're saving thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of dollars in fees, in points, and the different things that you would have been charged if you used an outside investor. Now, the second scenario that is, in my opinion, very, very ideal is what's called a value add multifamily buy and hold. Now, let me explain very briefly and simply what this even is. Okay, there you go, buy and hold. Sorry, my writing isn't very good, as you could tell. Now, what value add multifamily is when, let's say you find a 4-unit building, okay? So in this crazy world, 4 windows implies 4 units, okay? And let's say that it's in really, really bad condition. What value add is when you buy a property that's distressed, you spend time and money fixing it up, and because it's in better condition, you're able to raise the rents, and because you raise the rents, you also increase the value of the property. Hence the name value add, okay? So let's say in this real life scenario, we buy a distressed 4-unit building for, let's say, $200,000. And let's say that we spend $50,000 fixing it up, right? Maybe we put in some new carpet, new paint, we make it look nicer. And let's say because we increase the rent, the value now goes up to $300,000, okay? So we bought this building, and let's say that we put 20% down in the initial purchase. So we put $40,000 down, okay? We spent $50,000 rehabbing it. Let's say we use our $100,000 HELOC, okay? So again, we've got $50,000 more in the balance of the HELOC in case that rehab goes a little longer or it gets more expensive, right? but we spent $50,000 on the rehab of that HELOC. Now the value is at $300,000, 12 months later, let's just say hypothetically, because we fixed it up. Now, in my experience, a $50,000 rehab shouldn't take 12 months as an experienced landlord, but let's just say in this world it does, right? So we got it to $300,000, which means at this point we got $140,000 worth of equity in this 4-unit building. Now, what you can do at this point, because I'm gonna do some math here. So if we have $140,000 equity in a $300,000 multifamily building, that means our loan to value is 54%, because our loan in this case is $160,000 is what's remaining on the balance of the loan. So our loan to value ratio is 54%. Now, if your bank allows refinances, like cash out refis, up to, let's say, 75% loan to value or 80% loan to value, right? We're now able to take some money, convert that $140,000 equity to cash. And what's great about cash out refinances, so you do a refinance and you take some money out of that building, what's great about that is that all of that is tax-free because it's technically not income, it's actually a loan. So we don't have to pay any taxes on any of the cash that we take out in the equity. So let's say in the example that the bank wants 80% loan to value, right, at all times in the building. So if we have $300,000 as the value, that means the highest our loan balance can go is $240, okay? Well, right now our balance is $160, meaning that we have $80,000 worth of equity that if we wanted to we can convert into cash. Now, obviously that $80,000 could be used to pay off the $50,000 line of credit, leaving us with a profit of $30,000. And oh, by the way, with still this 4-unit building as part of our portfolio. Now, obviously we're in a position where we can keep the $50,000 balance on there. We could pay it off, or we could take that $80,000 and go off and do the next deal and repeat the process again and again and again and again, right? So that strategy is actually called the BRRRR method. There's a lot of great videos on YouTube about it. But before I wrap up this video, I wanna say one really, really important thing that I believe if you have a HELOC right now, you absolutely should not do. And that is, my friends, to lend on somebody else's deal using your HELOC. Do not, I repeat, do not do that. In fact, let me show you a situation on if you were to do a flip and you lent somebody your HELOC funds to complete the deal, right? So we've got our house right here, okay? You have the person doing the deal, okay? And then you have you. So this is you, this is the person doing the deal, okay? Now, this person right here is probably gonna give you, for borrowing your money, 8 to 12%. However, you, having the HELOC, will probably be charged 8 to 12%. Now, if you guys noticed, it's the same number. Meaning there's absolutely very little, if not zero, reward for you lending out that money, and there's all the risk that you're taking in the meantime, because that 8 to 12% that you're going to make lending that money to the individual, well, guess what? That's being paid to the bank for them giving you the HELOC and having that balance on your HELOC. All the while, if something goes wrong or if the deal goes south, which happens all the time, especially in flips, well, you're the person that has all the money and the risk involved. And I've seen, guys, as a real estate coach, as somebody who's been doing this for over a decade now, I see it all the time, almost monthly, where somebody uses their HELOC, they lend to someone doing a deal, something goes wrong, and they end up losing a lot of money in the process because they took on all the risk for very, very little reward. But they got involved because they just wanted to do a deal. It's not worth it, I can assure you. So hopefully this video was educational and value to you guys. If you guys enjoy this content, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.